And welcome back again. Yours truly, Anthony Parker Alexander of Keeping It Honest. We don't just keep it real, we don't just keep it simple, we keep it honest. Late breaking news. But before I tell you that, thank you for tuning in. Hit the like, hit the share, hit the subscribe button. I thank you guys. We're growing. If it wasn't because of you guys, we would not be doing this. So keep us growing. Keep liking, keep sharing, keep subscribing. We do stories as short as 5 seconds, and we do them as long as 5.5 hours. We try to cover everything. We try to cover politics, entertainment, life, health, death, religion. We try to do things with a Parker twist and spin that you won't see anywhere else. And if you do see it and we do that story, we're going to put a little spin on it like we are tonight. If you have any questions or comments, you can email yours truly. It's parkerman2011 at gmail.com, parkerman2011 at gmail.com. You can text me, voice message me, 216 702 3718, 216 702 3718. And Instagram. I'm on Instagram now. My handle is Anthony Alexander SR8. Anthony Alexander SR8. So you can comment, get in contact with me a lot of different ways. And also go to my Patreon page. And on that page, what you can do on that page, you type in Keeping It Honest after you type in Patreon. And I have 3 tiers. And on those tiers, you can decide what you would like to contribute for this show. Think of it as PBS. You see the hard work we do. You see the long shows we've done. You see the short shows we've done. We've done shows about Megyn Kelly and tried to get stories out there where you may not see that side of her. We've done stories about J.D. Vance. We've done stories about the spiritualness of Robert F. Kennedy. We've talked about Dr. King. We talked about his kids. We talked about his wife. We talked about him and some people that he had ties with. Some may like it, some may not. We've had on our show a couple of presidential candidates. So you never know what we're going to do and have on this show. So stay tuned for that. So speaking of, we said we had late breaking news. And what we're going to do with a Parker twist. As of not too long ago, we found out that P. Diddy, Sean, Puff Daddy, whatever you want to call him, he was arrested. And what was he arrested for? So a lot of people are getting the information together. And so what I like doing, I like going on other sites and being kind of a part of their show and seeing what they're talking about. So there's one guy that has a site called Popcorn Planet. His name is Andy Signore. And he's one of the few that I saw did late breaking news. And he kind of fit somebody talking about P. Diddy. Because you have a lot of people that talk about him or try to, and they try to use the hip hop phrases, and it just doesn't work. So they're not good at covering it. But this guy right here, he's covering it, and he got a couple guests on his show, Christopher Melcher and it's Kim, and they're going to talk about the legal ramifications of P. Diddy getting arrested. And then for me, I'm going to show you some clips sometime throughout the show about a young Justin Bieber and how maybe Diddy went after him then. And then we're going to just talk about the case and some other things. And then, did Diddy have Tupac killed? Years ago, I was doing a show right when Tupac got killed the night of. And I always thought that Diddy or Suge Knight had something to do with that. And if you remember, the hottest rappers back then, it was P. Diddy, he was a producer. It was Suge Knight, he was a producer. It was Snoop Dogg. It was Biggie Smalls and Tupac. So Tupac got killed first. Biggie got killed the next. And I figured that it'd be Snoop after that. But if you remember way back then, after that, Snoop disappeared for years, didn't do anything. I think he was feared for his life. And I was talking to somebody a couple of days ago, and if you think somebody who's a marketing genius that has recreated themselves, probably more than Ice Cube and Ice-T, was Snoop Dogg. Over the years, people have followed him From him being out in the streets to him being a hip hop rapper to maybe a gangster to him being with Martha Stewart, and he's always still got high. I mean, you just see him and that's what he does. To now, he's one of the voices. Well, before that, he was featured in the Olympics, worldwide Snoop. And now he's one of the voices of The Voice. But you go back 30 years ago, and I still feel if he'd have kept on that trajectory that he was on, that he wouldn't be here today. So it's funny. What comes around goes around. Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, he's had serious allegations. We did a couple of stories about him and Cassie. And we've got another one coming up. We're going to do a reflection of it. And a lot of people have been scared to talk. We've got a clip we're going to show, I forgot, about one of my favorite actors, Cuba Gooding. And if you read the documents, the legal documents about what may have happened with Diddy, I'm telling you, Cuba Gooding's in that. And hopefully the story's not true. So he hasn't really talked about it, but I've got a clip where he's going to talk about that too. And then I've got a clip where we're going to see a young Justin Bieber. So sit back, relax, get something to drink, something to snack on as we go through this. What is the deal with this case that just happened? It is so hot off the wires that a lot of people are either finishing up their live shows or haven't done a live show. So I scoured the internet. And like I said, this guy's show is called Popcorn Planet. I'm going to give you respect, too. I like to have you on the show, too. And him and his guests are going to talk about this indictment and what does it mean. And as you see on the title right there, Sean Combs arrested in Manhattan after grand jury indictment. So let's see what they say. As we say it, too, and see it, and you're watching Keeping It Honest with yours truly, Anthony Parker Alexander.
Breaking news, Sean Diddy Combs was arrested in Manhattan after grand jury indictment. The music mogul has been under mounting scrutiny, obviously, since this lawsuit by his former girlfriend, Cassie, and others. But now we have reports here. Here it is. Federal investigation was arrested in Manhattan on Monday evening after grand jury indicted him. According to a person familiar with the indictment who was not authorized to speak publicly, the indictment is sealed and the charges were not announced. But the person familiar with the prosecution said they believe Mr. Combs was being charged with racketeering and trafficking.
And I guess you can't say that, I guess, on this station, so we won't say it. But I'll read it too, and they'll probably reread it. A statement from Mr. Combs' legal team said they were disappointed with the decision to prosecute him and noted that he had been cooperative with the investigation and had voluntarily relocated to New York last week in anticipation of these charges. So he already knew that he was going to get arrested, so he conveniently moved to the place he was going to get arrested. That's kind of crazy.
Statement from Mr. Combs' legal team said they were disappointed with the decision to prosecute him and noted that he had been cooperative with the investigation and had voluntarily relocated to New York last week in anticipation of these charges. So I guess, Christopher, that's my first question. If they're going to go there, is that something they're going to let Diddy's team know? By the way, it's actually going to come?
Yeah, so a lot of times they'll be in touch, the federal prosecutor will be in touch with the defense attorney to arrange for a surrender, because when you're indicted like this, you need to be hard booked. So he needs to go in, get fingerprinted, and get photographed and get booked, and then make arrangements for his release. So that would have been coordinated if they feel that there's no risk of flight. If the prosecutor believes that he might bail or commit further crimes, then they're just going to go and grab him. So now his attorney's statement says that he's relocated or has been living, I guess, in some hotel in New York or Manhattan for the last week. So it sounds like this has been going on for quite a bit. But the TMZ reporting, there was some updated reporting a little bit ago saying that they actually were planning the surrender tomorrow, Tuesday. I'm losing track of time here. What day is it? I'm sorry.
Today's Monday, Tuesday.
Monday. Okay. So they were planning on doing it Tuesday, but they moved it up to today. And it sounded like in quite a bit of a hurry, and that they also searched his hotel room.
So are they saying now that, and it's interesting when you're rich and how the system works. They told him probably last week he was going to get arrested, so he came to New York and prepared himself. But then the federal people said, you know what? Let's see if we can catch him a day before. And that's kind of what they did. Did it surprise Sean? Let's find out.
So if that reporting is correct by TMZ, that leads me to believe that the federal prosecutor, law enforcement was monitoring Diddy, felt that there was some risk that he would either flee, commit further crimes, destroy evidence, or intimidate witnesses, something like that. They said, we can't let him loose, swooped in, picked him up, hard booked him, and then also searched his hotel room for stuff. So this is a very bad start to a really awful case for him.
So then whose fault was that? Because the federal people told him that they would be arresting him. So why wouldn't he try not to get rid of stuff? If he knows he's going to be going to jail, maybe he could have intimidated witnesses. Because a lot of the people involved with Diddy have said he's been an intimidating person. So maybe the federal people said, you know what? We gave him something. We're looking. He's doing something. He may be a federal risk. Let's swoop in now instead of the next day.
Yeah, that's epic. I mean, that's big. That's abnormal, I would imagine. If they have scheduled and they're all assuming all parties are being fair and doing it the way they're supposed to. Yeah, you don't swoop in the night earlier, I imagine, right?
Yeah, that's really unusual because the fact that they would have given him the heads up potentially a week ago, said, hey, come out to New York. This is happening. You're going to make arrangements. It's going to go to, I mean, they're making an appointment with this guy. And so obviously when they were doing that, they felt that he was not a risk of fleeing or committing crimes, destroying evidence, or threatening witnesses. So something radically changed today that would have, turned this whole thing upside down. So how that affects his ability to be released and how quickly he'll be released is yet to be seen.
So he's arrested. This officially now this means, just so we're clear on what the terms are, he's arrested and now taken into federal custody. Does that traditionally mean he's going to be behind bars or like in the station? What does this typically mean when this type of thing happens?
So most of the time, especially when it's prearranged, he has already worked out the conditions for release. So that can be as simple as just saying, hey, I promise to appear at all court appearances. I promise not to commit crimes. I will stay in New York or the US, whatever the terms are. Surrender his passport, maybe post a bond, maybe subject himself to electronic monitoring, so it would kind of be one of those or all of those things that they would have negotiated in advance.
So that part is interesting. And does that only happen if you're rich? I'm just keeping it honest. So they already talked to him last week, said, look, we're going to arrest you. And he probably said, so what do I have to do? Well, we're going to have to arrest you. We're going to have to decide how much we're going to charge you with. Your money, you have money, you can go be arrested, be out that same day. We're going to see if we're going to put a monitor on you, and we don't want you leaving the country. But rest assured, next week, we're coming over to your place, wherever you're at, to arrest you. So if you would, you're out of town, we're doing this from New York, why don't you just come to New York and we'll take care of it? And that's probably what he did. So would that happen to the average person? You got my information, let me know. You're watching Keeping It Honest with yours truly, Anthony Parker Alexander, as we talk about Sean Diddy Combs, being arrested in Manhattan after a grand jury indictment. What would you do in his shoes?
And but he does have to be booked. So he's got to be booked and, taken before a magistrate and all that stuff. So that just goes with the territory. And it sounds like it was on track for him Tuesday to go in there quietly and walk out. And we've been reading the story tomorrow instead of this evening. So if he did something serious, or he's accused of doing something serious, today, let's say, then they might say, hey, we're no longer agreeable to those conditions of release, and they might have to fight before the judge as to his being released from custody.
So it's fascinating. So his team, and clearly they've known for a little while, probably more than any of us knew what was coming. I guess you are prepared for that. the grand jury. So they use the grand jury to ensure that the case is up to snuff, right? Just for people to understand, the way this is all done is they've hired and gotten, not hired, but gotten jurors to sit there. They get to plead this case pretty much in private, right?
Mm.
Or does Diddy's team get to witness this as well? Is this a way to, or is just a soft trial really to ensure the evidence they have will be held up based on jurors' reactions?
And that's interesting because there have been so many accusations against Diddy, um, that is crazy. I mean, it's a lot of serious accusations. And if Diddy was trying to do something the day before he's supposed to give himself up, would that cancel all the legal agreements that he had with the police?
Sure. So it's it's a little confusing with the terms, but in the federal system and a serious crime like this, they typically going to start this with impaneling a grand jury. So it's not the regular type of jury that you see on TV that 12 people or whatever
Mhm.
sitting in a box that are pulled from public. This is sometimes a standing grand jury or a special grand jury that's impaneled for the purpose of determining whether there's probable cause to issue an indictment here. And so these folks would have been presented a case by the prosecutor. Diddy really is not having much right to have any participation in this process, and so that's just done supposedly to make sure that there's evidence of, that a crime has actually been committed and that he has done so sufficient to issue criminal charges and for him to be arrested or booked for it. So again, I'm oversimplifying it, but that's basically the concept. Now, certainly that's the initial charge. It'll be taken before a judge. The prosecutor can amend the charges, so they can do a superseding indictment. So the initial charges not necessarily mean the last charges, so those might change over time. Certainly now, Diddy's would come in and start asserting his defenses, and but I'm sure the prosecutor was very careful. They certainly took their time. The last time we reported on this, we were wondering like what's taking so long and what are they doing behind the scenes? And they did these raids months ago, and we kind of surmised that they were putting the squeeze on witnesses and other maybe potential targets to see if they would turn evidence against Diddy. And they were going to take their time, and once they had the goods, they were going to hit them. So it sounds like that's happened. This is going to be the beginning of a potentially long saga. Those RICO and other charges that we've heard that might have been he might have been indicted for are very serious. It's not something like Timberlake or somebody you can just say, hey, let me just take some deal and walk
Mhm.
out with no time. Though that's going to be very difficult for Diddy to make a deal on that without some substantial prison time being requested of him. And if he's not thinking that is worthy, then it goes to trial.
So that's interesting. So what exactly is a grand jury indictment? I was looking on my phone to look it up. And it said indictments happen in front of a grand jury. They will listen to the prosecutor's statement and determine whether there is probable cause to charge this defendant. So it's going to be interesting. So the prosecutors for this Sean Combs case, they're going to talk to the individuals, the grand jury people, and say, this is why he should be charged. And at this time, the prosecutor can present evidence and even call forth witnesses. Excuse me. So that part will be very interesting because if he calls forth witnesses, is he going to call all the people who've been in the news? Is he going to call Cassie? Um, I can tell you, I was a pro se attorney, and I was a pro se attorney representing myself in court, and I won the case. I'll tell you about it sometime. But I had to subpoena people. So let's say Cassie and Cuba Gooding and Justin Bieber, three important figures in the lawsuit cases of Puff Daddy. So let's say they don't want to talk, but the prosecutor says, you know what, I'm going to subpoena you. And then they get on the stand. Or what if he goes after the prosecutors, go after some of the people who have been doing these civil lawsuits? then it's going to be really interesting. So is the past potentially starting to catch up? And then people are saying over the years that he had something to do with Tupac's murder. But then there's a lot of people that have said stuff that hadn't said stuff 30 years ago, but are speaking now. Is this the beginning of the end of Sean Combs? We're going to find out with this case.
Kim has joined the chat as well. Welcome, Kim. Thank you for helping break this for me. And Kim will be covering this on It's Kim. Make sure you're supporting her. I just, while we have Mr. Melcher, I wanted to ask, because there's another part of this quote, and I want to get your thoughts too, Kim. But Diddy's lawyer added this, I found very telling. I hadn't seen this one yet. Diddy is an imperfect person, but he's not a criminal. To his credit, Mr. Combs has been nothing but cooperative with the investigation, relocated to New York, yada, yada. Please reserve your judgment until you have all the facts. There are these are the acts of an innocent man with nothing to hide, and he looks forward to clearing his name in court.
So that part's interesting because there's so many allegations. I would like to see how he's going to clear his name. And remember, you're innocent until proven guilty. So we just got to see how this case is going to pan out.
I mean, it's just laughable for me to hear that, given the way he lied about Cassie, the way that he and his attorneys tried so hard to defame her, deny her. She's a liar. They're all clout chasers, et cetera, et cetera.
And if you remember, too, when he did say it was a lie, he never did anything wrong. That footage came up with him literally beating Cassie. And after that, his credibility just went downhill. So how's he going to prove his innocence in this case?
I guess I assume we all agree on that. But I guess my bigger question is it common for a case this big, for a grand jury, all of the stuff, all the eyes? Can you think of any, Christopher, where this doesn't net into something clearly pretty likely dangerous? Is there a likelihood in this, in
And especially if he was doing child sex trafficking,
your mind, that this could be an innocent man? Is there, what is the percentage in your brain, given like the experience of these types of big cases, that you think there might be something we don't know?
Let me know too. Get in contact with me. Keep it honest. Is Sean Combs, is he innocent for any of the allegations against him? But remember, again, he said he never did anything to Cassie, and we saw that tape.
Well, it's going to be difficult. So we saw the video with Cassie. So he clearly, abused her. There's no doubt about it. That's probably why they're admitting that he's imperfect at this point. So, but that's not a federal crime that he committed against her. That is a state crime that could have been prosecuted in the county of Los Angeles had that been reported at the time. So that's not what the criminal case is about. That could have been one of the predicate acts for the racketeering charge. So we really don't know exactly what they're going to charge him with. He does have a presumption of innocence in the United States. So that's important to note, that charges have been brought against people and the whole case is imploded. And I mean, look at Alec Baldwin. We were all watching that case completely implode. Now, I know a lot of folks, question whether he should have been prosecuted to begin with, but that case unfolded before our very eyes.
And that Alec Baldwin case too, that was when he had a gun. He was acting, and they were filming, and he had a gun, and he was pointing it to his co-actor, kind of like in the face. And when he pulled the trigger, it killed her. So a lot of people were saying, well, should Alec Baldwin have been charged? And they were saying that it was supposed to have been a fake bullet, but he had the gun in front of her. So people thought he was going to go to jail because technically he did pull the trigger. Assuming as an actor it was a fake bullet. And it wasn't. So the surprising thing was he got off scot-free. Should he have? Well, we know his conscience is bad, and the family, they sued him and everything. But yeah, the evidence was, okay, Alec, you shot her. And Alec said, I didn't know that the bullets were real. But he's not going to jail. So who knows what could happen again with this Sean Combs case? Because we don't know what all the charges are yet.
And so I would caution just saying, hey, it's a lot different to accuse somebody of something than to prove in a court of law that they did the crime.
There's gonna be a lot to report, but Kim, I want to get your thoughts. You've been covering this in great detail. Thanks for joining us and everything else. What are your thoughts as you see this finally taking shape?
Well, thank you so much for having me. I think the one thing that is sticking in my mind right now after reading that statement from his attorney, not a criminal.
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure most of us saw that tape of Cassie. And I would define the behavior that we saw in that video as criminal. We may be
Mhm.
past the statute of limitations at this point for that specific incident, but I do not believe that that was the first time nor the last time he treated anyone like that or did worse.
Amen to that. Was it premeditated? He was ticked off. If he did that once, he could have did it a many bunch of times. And if you read her suit, meaning Cassie's, she wrote about the many times that she was intimidated and beat and scared to leave. So just because the situation ends, does that mean that you're still not that same person? Because I look at it again, let's say racism in the country. And we're sometimes surprised that some people are still racist against blacks and whites. And I look at it, especially if it's an older person, just because the Civil Rights Act passed in 1965 doesn't mean that the people's attitude changed. So 65 was what, almost 50 years ago. So if you're 20, you're 70 now. And if you didn't like blacks or you like whites then, just because the law changed that we all can get together, does that mean that your mind changed? Maybe it did as times change, but maybe you're still that same person of 20 years ago that you are today at 70. So when Sean Combs was doing all this stuff 20 years ago, what has made him stop? And he's got so much powerful, it seems that he's the Jeffrey Epstein of the entertainment world.
And I am very excited to see him in custody. I have followed this case painfully closely and daily for months now. And the one thing that I kept seeing was this one quote that basically said they were trying to get a bulletproof case.
Mhm.
The fact that we are here makes me believe that they have everything they need.
Mm.
And I think in the coming days, we're going to find out a lot. It's probably going to be very shocking. And I tonight's a good night.
So she's one that she thinks Diddy should be in jail. And I said, if you read those briefs, I've done shows where I've read the court briefs from Cassie's side, from P. Diddy's side, and it's very hard to read because it's very graphic. I'm telling you. So she thinks that right now, this is the golden goose of the end of Sean Diddy Combs.
Tonight's a good night.
It's true. It's like Christopher to say Kim's spot on. Like how dumb is it for them to make this mistake again to try to play like Cassie's in the wrong? The video evidence is undeniable. That is a criminal behavior, whether it's technically, because of the statute of limitations, etc. Isn't this just an idiotic start of a defense? I mean, for me, it makes me immediately think there is no defense. He's just doing what he's got to do, and he knows his client's guilty. Is that something you'd ever say when that tape dropped?
Well, that's what's so difficult about it, and I totally agree with Kim, but also got to understand that the federal case is not about Cassie. That it just can't be. I mean, that is not an act of racketeering, and it's not an act of trafficking necessarily. Now, maybe again, it could be part of a bigger what we call predicate act. So maybe that was evidence of some larger enterprise that was going on. But just to be clear, like that, there's a difference between federal and state charges. The federal government has no authority to charge him for what he did to Cassie. That's purely a matter of state law, and that was never charged in the county of Los Angeles by deputy district attorney because it wasn't reported to the police, to my knowledge, at that.
So it wasn't reported when she got beat. So she didn't report it. So you can't really be in somebody's mind when they're scared and intimidated. They're scared. and intimidated to report things. We hear about these cases all the time. But just what would have happened if people would have stood up to Diddy years earlier?
That time. So there's something much, much larger, and maybe the Cassie thing is part of that. But this is it would have to be, again, a criminal enterprise, trafficking kind of thing, multiple victims, all different kinds of activities. And yes, I agree. These prosecutors are not going to act brashly. We saw that the raids happened on his houses months ago. That's the last time we reported on it. We're like, hey, this has gone on a long time. So obviously they've been patient. They've been putting the squeeze on people, threatening them with prosecution to come forward. So they probably have affidavits, statements under oath from witnesses, maybe other participants saying, yes, Diddy did all these things. But again, we have seen people sign statements and make confessions to things and have that completely unfold in court.
And how much of that has been intimidation of the witnesses? But if you look at all this information that's been alleged against Sean Combs, and you read the briefs, I'm telling you, there's a lot of witnesses involved. Some famous, and some not.
So again, it looks horrible for him. If I was betting on this, I would say, odds are against Diddy, but also just cautioning that there have been quite a few people who have been prosecuted and then either completely vindicated, or the case even being dismissed. So it's very early to make any predictions yet.
Yeah, I mean, Alec Baldwin's a great case. We all watched that. We all agreed he was responsible as well as others. And boom, it's all out. Kim, any other questions for Christopher?
I've heard a lot about when it comes to RICO cases, the rate of conviction is very high. I'm interested to hear, would that statistic be true? Because I've heard in the upper 90s percentage that if you are charged, that's usually the way that it goes. Can you think of any cases that are RICO related that were high profile that the person did evade?
And that's interesting too, because the RICO case is what Fannie Willis was involved in as a DA. And she was saying that RICO cases, even there, about 90% found guilty.
Charge or prison time, or I don't know how to word it. I hope that makes sense.
No, I get it. And I think that's probably true for a couple reasons. One is, the weight of the government on most people would be crushing. This isn't, like I say, like Timberlake kind of thing, small case where, anyone could probably afford a lawyer or mount a defense for. This is the full weight of the federal government on this guy's back. So even for Diddy, this is going to be extremely difficult. So most people will take a plea bargain because they're facing, gigantic sentences and huge attorney's fees. And so a lot of those will plead out.
So you think about this, then how is Donald Trump, who has literally 100 charges almost, able to do what he does? And these cases have been either whittling down, they found him innocent or whatever, and he's been able to postpone this while he runs for president. And here's a guy that's got 90-something charges. Oh, I'm doing my hands like Donald Trump too. 90-something charges. And he's just going day by day.
If they don't plead out and it goes to a jury trial, it's very difficult to defend against when you have, let's say, 40 offenses. Say they're saying, hey, okay, Diddy, you're in this criminal enterprise. One of the events that we're charging you with as a predicate offense is what happened to Cassie. Let's play the tape. And so that could be a kidnapping. Legal definition is that movement against will. And some will say also for the purpose of doing further offense to her or keep her from reporting. He dragged her down the hallway. So we have sufficient movement for a kidnapping. Kidnapping is a predicate offense. Even though it's too late to charge under state law, they can do it under federal law. So once they play that tape, it's game over.
So that's kind of considered a kidnapping. That's interesting. And legally, it's one thing I like and don't like about the law. They can pick and choose what they want. So in that case, she could have been kidnapped for years. Even though she's open to go places, that mind intimidation is a strong thing.
So now they got
And
5.
that, sorry, but they're allowed. They'll be allowed to play that tape. Like that's
Oh,
not going to be something his people can push away.
Absolutely, because
Yeah.
if they
Hmm.
charge that as a predicate offense, and the only way would be kidnapping. And again, people can look at all this stuff and see what the so-called predicate offenses in a RICO case are. Battery, assault are not one of them. So kidnapping would be the one that I saw that would be on that tape. So they play that. All of a sudden, everyone on that jury is saying this is a bad guy and I want to convict him. And now the prosecutor strings together maybe 10 weaker predicate offenses and he gets cooked. So that's what I'm saying. If I had to bet on this, I would say, hey, he is in looking some really, really bad shape on this. But like I say, as an attorney, I've seen what appear to be strong cases become very weak over time. We got to remember that this is early stage. The government holds all the cards. They are the ones out there doing the interview, putting pressure on people. They're the ones bringing criminal charges. Diddy is the one, he can do an investigation, but he doesn't have any of those powers at this moment. Once, he's in this system now, he has a subpoena power. So now he can start getting records.
Wow.
There's going to be hearings and he may be able to turn it around. I don't know. I mean, like I say, it's hard to evaluate without seeing the evidence, which we've seen no evidence because we don't even know technically what the charges are yet.
So that's interesting. So he has or will have subpoena power to go after people and even put them on the stand. But if you read any of the briefs, how much of this subpoena power is going to also be intimidating the people that he wants to help defend him? Because, from supposedly decades, a lot of these people hadn't talked until now. This happened decades ago, certain things in people's lives, and they were scared to talk. So if Diddy subpoena some of these same people, who says they're not going to be back to being scared to talk? You're watching Keep It Honest. Yours truly, Anthony Parker Alexander.
Wait, and then will we get evidence? Will they hold on to that evidence, or when will they start sort of letting that evidence come, and not until a trial? And how long until a trial happens? Sorry, Kim, we'll get to you next, but
sure. So we have this indictment, which is the charging document. Now, technically, that doesn't have to go into a whole lot of detail, but a lot of times in a higher profile case like this, they'll do what's called a speaking indictment, and that's really almost like a press release. So they're going to put in a lot of dates, times, names, and places in there. And because everyone's asking these questions and the government doesn't want to be attacked or think that they're overreaching or unfairly targeting this guy. So
and that document's already made, and we'll probably get that tomorrow or the next day, you think?
Yeah. So right now it's sealed, but because he's been arrested and he'll be arraigned and all that stuff or whatever, brought before magistrate. So eventually that will be released and then we will get to see that. So that's going to then tell the story. And that'll obviously make it a lot more easy to evaluate. So that is the next step, is to get the indictment. And once we see that, we'll know a lot.
So once we get that document, then we'll know everything that he's charged for and maybe when his first court date is, which is interesting. This could happen in a matter of days.
I have another question, but Kim, ask what you were going to say.
Okay, so I think the one question I have in my mind, and I hope I can word this correctly. Back in 1999, Diddy was involved in a shooting at Club New York alongside Jennifer Lopez. They both were taken into custody. Jennifer was, cleared, but Diddy did stand trial and was cleared of those charges. Shine ended up being prosecuted, was sent to prison for quite a while. And there have been a lot of questions with these civil lawsuits, particularly with Lil Rod's, where he has admitted or has written in the lawsuit that Diddy has bragged about bribing people and getting off on this case. And then we also did have law enforcement saying that everything past and present when it comes to Diddy is on the table. What would be the chances of an incident like the Club New York shooting being included in these type of charges if they were to find something through the investigation?
And that's an interesting question. So that case was 1999, which was 25 years ago. And that's when J-Lo was really Jenny from the block and was with Diddy. And some people have said that the gun that J Lo had that gun, and that Shine was paid off to go to jail for all those years, and that it was really Diddy. So some people have been wondering, well, J Lo, you were with Diddy for a while. You kind of knew he had to be doing some things because suppose he was doing things back then, you know, having sex trafficking, all this other kind of stuff. And some people say that you decided to leave him after that because it was just too much pressure. But would they be able to go after Jenny on the block or J Lo and have her on the witness stand to even talk about that 1999 incident, just like she said? It's really a good question. How far back can you go?
Sure. So that could be, and one of the reasons is like the statute of limitations. Again, for folks who are not familiar with that term, there's a time limit generally for the prosecutor to bring criminal charges. Most criminal charges have a time limit. Some, like really horrible crimes, don't. So there's a time to bring charges. Now, obviously, that incident happened a long time ago, just like the Cassie incident happened a long time ago. But in a racketeering case, they can string together state offenses, meaning offenses that are not necessarily under federal law, but under state law.
And real quick, if you saw the headline, it said something about using J Lo as a gun mode. Just like I said, some people said J Lo was inadvertently involved in that.
They're too old to be prosecuted, were never prosecuted, to put together proof of a criminal enterprise. So there's a list of predicate offenses for a RICO charge. And so we might find one or more of that in that incident. And if they can identify a predicate offense, then they can talk about it and they can say that is one of the offenses, along maybe with the Cassie kidnapping thing, to then string together this racketeering charge. We'll see.
Okay.
But they have
Thank
to have
you.
more than that, you would think, right? There's more in this charging document, the one whatever pager we're gonna get. I imagine, right? There are witnesses and stories that have yet to go public that they're holding on to. Do you think?
Oh, absolutely. Because again, the especially the trafficking one, they're not going to just say like, oh, somebody reported something and we're going to just charge this guy. They're going to want witnesses. They're going to want corroborating evidence. So a lot of times they're not going to just rely on a he said, she said. So somebody's saying, hey, Diddy did this to me, trust me. They're going to want corroboration. So let me see text messages, emails, photographs, hospital bills, reports, something to back up every element of their story, because they know Diddy's going to hire the best lawyers in the world to represent him on this. Those lawyers are going to examine every single statement that everyone has said against him. And they're going to try and poke holes in those, any inconsistencies that they can find, to saying, hey, jury, they lied in this one respect or were inaccurate in this one respect, so don't believe them in any respect. So that's what's going to happen. So the prosecutor anticipates that and is extraordinarily careful. And so if they only need 3 or 5 charges, or they think they only need 3 or 5 charges, they're probably going to want 10 different offenses, because they figure, hey, if a couple of them we don't prove up, we still got plenty in the bank.
And if you look at some of the court cases against Diddy, and a lot of those people, and I said you read those briefs, it's very graphic. And how they put together these briefs is they even have pictures, which most briefs don't, from what I've seen. So I'm telling you, if those people go to court who are accusing him of sex trafficking, kidnapping, anything and everything, if they have them on the stand, the prosecutors go after them, how is Diddy going to be able to get out of this? No Diddy, no doubt.
How much is a trial like this going to cost for him?
Yeah,
Like
I was going to ask that.
This is going to be I imagine more expensive than most trials. And then to get the best of the best, they probably need multiple people doing multiple things. I'm just talking this case because he's had multiple. Do you hire Does he have to hire multiple law firms with everything that's going on? What is your explain that for people who don't really understand, because that's part of this too, I imagine, right? Drowning them in cost and lawsuits to try to help their case, right or wrong. At someone this powerful, it says here his net worth's around 600 million.
Wow.
Like, is there a point where it's like he's not going to be able to afford it?
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
he'll be able to afford it, but I mean, the defense costs, I got to think, are easily $50 million. We don't know, like, I mean, how many different states the alleged activity occurred in. So, each state's going to have records and witnesses that need to be interviewed. It might even be international. This is going over many, many years of time. So, so there would be a face to the case, but that lawyer is going to be supported by multiple lawyers, probably multiple law firms. They can use some of these civil cases potentially to grab discovery. So there are rights of a criminal defendant to get information, but when you have a civil case, it's kind of unbelievable that sometimes you have more rights to get information and compel statements in a civil case than you do a criminal case.
So 600 million is what they're claiming that he has. So if you think about this, with allegations supposedly and everything going after him, I don't know. Let's just overestimate and say maybe it'll cost 300 million, which will still leave him 300 million. But for people that don't want to go to jail and might be guilty, if you look at that side, shoot, he's got 600 million. Who says he can't pay people off with at least 200 of the 6 million he's got to stay out of jail? But then if he's innocent, how much of this money is he going to have to spend to prove his innocence? I'm just giving you both sides of the story.
So you may see him leveraging these cases that are filed against him to force those accusers or other witnesses to give testimony so he could use that for his criminal case. So it is a far-reaching, extraordinarily expensive effort. And his income is going to go down too. So his ability to earn is going to be decreased while he's hemorrhaging this legal fees.
Kim, you had a question.
Yeah, I wanted to comment. One of the things that has been reported as of late is that his net worth is plummeting at this point. And that is part of why some people are wondering why he's selling one of his homes and things of that nature. He doesn't have his shares in Revolt anymore. He's no longer with the alcohol brand that he was affiliated with. He has signed off the rights to various bad boy music artists in exchange, allegedly, for their NDAs, according to Aubrey O'Day. So I think it is going to be really interesting to see how expensive this gets, how fast it gets, and what this does to his empire, because it's already been suffering through these civil cases, and just because people don't want to be associated with him right now. I did have one question for Christopher Melcher, if that's all right.
Okay, before she gets to that question too, I forgot there are a lot of organizations that are dropping him, and but if his worth is 600 million now, that's still not too bad. Okay, so and then I'm wondering how many companies are deciding to pick him up. So I went on my phone, and on the screen we saw this, but it was real quick, so I'm going to read it. It said, Feds set to widen Diddy sex probe over claims rapper boasted about shooting people, bribing jurors, and using J-Lo as gun mule. So yeah, so even today, 25 years later, a lot of people are thinking that J-Lo had something to do with the shooting in the club. And if you're Diddy, is Diddy one that doesn't boast? Maybe does boast about a lot of things. Some people do that when they've got that power. But it says they're set to widen Diddy's sex probe over claims rapper boasted about shooting people, bribing jurors. Remember that. Using J-Lo as gun mule. So if he's allegedly known to be bribing jurors, and he's got like 600 million, and he's going on trial, gangsters, I don't know if he's a gangster, but well-known gangsters over the years have been known to try to bribe jurors. And if he's boasting that he's bribed jurors, or somebody trying to set him up, then the federal law is going to be watching him even more. So now let's go to her question. It's Kim.
Yes.
Is that okay? Okay. So we know right now that Keefe D is currently in custody to be tried for the unaliving of Tupac Shakur. And there have been rumors for a long time that Diddy may have had a role.
And again, Tupac was killed in the 90s, literally 30 years ago. And they just supposedly found the guy that killed Tupac. But this guy is saying that he was kind of ordered by Sean Combs.
In that, again, is it possible that that could be a part of this indictment, or would that be separate because it is currently a case in Las Vegas?
No, I mean, it could be. I don't know anything about that other than what I read in the news. And the suspicion that I had was that this person was just trying to get some attention here, and I don't know that Diddy had any involvement in that. But certainly, if there's evidence of it, and there would have to be a connection then to this alleged criminal enterprise or trafficking ring that he potentially has been indicted for. So it's not just like, hey, let's just pull together the greatest hits of every bad thing that Diddy has done or accused of doing and put this in front of a jury. To be relevant, they have to make it part of this alleged criminal enterprise. So he could have done something a long time ago that was bad and criminal, but if it wasn't part of the alleged enterprise of trafficking, then they couldn't bring that up.
So if he was connected with the killing of Tupac, which some have said, that technically couldn't be used in this sex trafficking RICO case. That would have to be tried separately, which is being done now. You're watching Speaking Now. Keep it honest. With yours truly, Anthony Parker. Breaking news. Sean Diddy Combs arrested in Manhattan after grand jury indictment. You have any questions or comments, you can email yours truly. It's parkerman2011 at gmail.com, parkerman2011 at gmail.com. You can send me an Instagram note. I've got Instagram. Woohoo, yes, all right. It's Anthony Alexander, SR8. Anthony Alexander, SR8. That's my handle. And we're piggybacking off this website, Popcorn Planet. Andy Signore, that's his site. Go to his site, support him. He's doing a good job, as you can tell. And he has on the show Christopher Melbourne, and it's Kim. So we've been enjoying this and interjecting our comments because I've seen a lot of people who have been doing sites and they just can't cover certain sites. If you got a news guy, he can't really cover a hip hop site and be believable. Okay. Not saying that I am, but my favorite artist was Tupac. And I was really into all that when he got killed and Biggie and everything. And I've been so about Sean. I like his confidence. But then, you think about that, even the devil has confidence. Even the baddest of people have confidence. But when you do things that are bad, always say there's karma. And it's going to come back and get you. What goes around comes around. Keeping it honest.
Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So if you're just tuning in, and we've had a lot of people tuning in, and Christopher and Kim have been offering a lot of great insight on this. But for those of you unaware, yes, Sean Combs has been arrested in Manhattan after a grand jury indictment. The most telling thing here, as we were reporting on it, was Christopher pointed out that TMZ said this was supposed to happen tomorrow. Something happened that caused the feds to move in a day earlier, which, as Christopher said, and we all agree, something bad must have gone down. That's unusual. What does that mean? Like he's trying to run, he's trying to burn evidence. What is your suspicion there, Christopher? What that is that they would push the whole thing up earlier?
Yeah, because if they're pushing it earlier, I don't know. I mean, everybody knows Diddy, so if he's running, where's he going to run? Destroying evidence? If maybe not him, and I'm trying to do this because we don't know all the facts. I'm trying to be fair and balanced, real fair and real balanced. Don't get me confused with Fox. Information, pictures, tapes. But the federal people had told him, hey, we're going to come and we're going to pick you up Tuesday. Why would you tell them that? To give him chance, if he's guilty, to get rid of evidence.
So the things that come to mind would be, one, to flee the jurisdiction. So he's just like, hey, I don't want to spend the rest of my life in prison, so I'm getting out of the country.
Why wouldn't he have done that months ago when he was allowed?
Exactly. So I'm not buying that one. The other one would be destruction of evidence. So there's some kind of evidence in his possession, or he's directing somebody else to destroy some evidence. Another thing would be
you'd think he would have done that by now, because he again would have, and that's illegal, obviously, if he's caught doing that. But then the evidence is gone. They can't really do anything at that point, right?
That's right. And they raided both of his homes. He's had plenty of time. So how would he do that within the course of the last couple of days? So I'm not really thinking that's very likely. The other one is threatening a witness. And this is where it could be, where let's say he's under all this pressure and he learns that somebody's cooperating or potentially going to flip, and he's trying to discourage that person from cooperating. So that would be a good reason. That's probably top of mind.
So he's saying possibly, think about this. If you know you might be going to jail and somebody's snitching on you and you are a bad boy, what would you do to prevent that person from snitching? Either giving them money, threatening their family, or threatening them?
To me, to think about what would happen. I mean, he could be committing other crimes, still trying to run the alleged enterprise or trafficking scheme. But I got to think, how is he really going to be doing that out of his hotel room while he's waiting to be arrested? That seems pretty brazen. So I got to think, again, it's all speculation, but maybe they think that he's trying to dissuade a witness.
Well, that's another whole thing of this. Sorry, just before I forget it, this fact that he's in a hotel room, is that, you think he did that knowing this was happening and it was just easier? Is that weirder to you, Christopher, that he's in a hotel room? What are your thoughts?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's his attorney's statement. I mean, he says he's been holed up here in Manhattan waiting for this to come down. So, which, definitely shows a great deal of cooperation. And I got to think it was also driving him crazy doing that. And another thing would be to look out for is he going to dissipate assets or, kind of make himself judgment proof, because part of the criminal prosecution could involve him disgorging a lot of money. If they're saying that he, has all this wealth as a result of the criminal enterprise, and they're going to try to forfeit that money. So we may see allegations of movement of money so that he has something for himself or his family at the end of this thing.
Go ahead, Kim.
I was just going to ask, we had a question in the chat from Penny D saying, is bail actually on the table for him?
Yeah, so that could definitely be part of it. He has a right to bail. So usually that's not an impediment. It just depends on what the allegations are, and what in terms of, is there really any doubt that he's going to show up for court proceedings? Now, I would think not much, because if they said, hey, we're going to arrest you, you're going to be indicted soon, I need you to come to New York, and he goes to New York, that was a smart move on his part, to saying like, hey, there's really no risk that I'm going to leave. And, one of the main purposes of bail is to secure his attendance at court hearings. And they can do that probably most effectively through electronic monitoring. Rather than posting a bond, I mean, how much would the bond have to be?
Oh, yeah.
He's going to say, here, I'll post $1 million bond. Well, that's nothing for him. That's not going to just say, fine, I'll forfeit the bond and take off. The electronic monitoring would really provide the most protection to make sure that if he didn't show up in court, that they'd be able to find him.
And even with that, who says that, he pays $1 million bond, they give him an electronic thing around his leg? Who says at the end of the day, it gives him time to do a getaway plan and leave the country? I mean, you've had like people that have left the country before that were supposed to get prosecuted in the United States, meaning famous people. And they said, forget that. I don't care about America. I don't want to be arrested. I'm gone.
Or if he tampered with the device, they'd be able to find him pretty quick.
And is he going to be in jail now at this point?
Well, I would think he would have been taken into custody. That could have been that booking process, basically with an appointment and cooperation might have lasted an hour. But since it got accelerated, and again, it really is going to depend on why it got accelerated. I don't think that they just changed their mind. So they might say, hey, we're going to hold you for the night. And they may say we're no longer willing to agree to these conditions of release based on whatever they're claiming happened, and have them hang out for the night and see a magistrate tomorrow morning.
Wow. So he's probably there tonight, from what I gather. And they're saying, you know what, you might have forfeited your contract. So whatever deal we had going, deal's off.
Well, we're still here breaking stuff down. I want to give Christopher now because I know it's late and I appreciate him here. We're going to be covering this obviously all week. And I assume it's safe to assume that we're going to get some information tomorrow as planned. Is that your expectation?
Yeah, I think that could be unsealed tomorrow. And certainly that's going to be an explosive document to go through. So once that happens, I'm happy to join again and we can walk through it.
Yeah, so big news. We've been waiting for a story, Kim. It just dropped on our feet. Thank goodness. I was so sick of talking about J-Lo, but she might be part of this too, guys. We'll see how it all plays out. What do you think of that theory, Christopher, before I let you go? I'm going to end you with a silly one. There's a theory out there that the divorce to Ben is because Suge Knight said it's because he found out about some evidence of J-Lo on those tapes.
I have heard about that. So that's crazy. Suge Knight, who's in jail, was like the scariest person in the world. Found out something about J-Lo and pretty much said, okay, you and Ben are out right now. So could J-Lo be involved in this? I still people say conspiracies, believe conspiracies sometimes. I think the only one that's innocent may be J-Lo's husband on Batman, Ben Affleck. And then you think about this, take it another level. Who's Ben Affleck's best friend? Matt Damon. You don't think you talk things to your best friend? Hey, Matt, I don't know what to do. Me and J-Lo, I don't know. She's tripping, man. She's tripping. She's talking about Diddy and how Diddy may go to jail and how they're going to call her and everything. And I don't know what to do. And when you thought those two were together, J-Lo and Ben, now supposedly they're And now Suge Knight is implicated in this. And they're talking about J-Lo from 25 years ago. All conspiracies are not all conspiracies. Remember that.
Do you think it could get that intense, or is that just even too silly for you?
Yeah, I don't think that's anything to do with anything. It's
yeah, you don't think so, but I do.
Just my guess. Hey, I don't know anything, but I think that I don't know.
Because you probably never kept up with the hip hop wars back in the 90s, because you really can't even talk about Tupac, Biggie, or Puff Daddy, or P. Diddy, or Sean Combs.
I don't know, but it doesn't.
He's not saying no.
But I don't know about these kind of things.
He doesn't know. Well, I appreciate you, sir. I'm going to hang with you for a second, Kim. Christopher, I'll let you go. I know it's late. Thank you for calling in. We're going to have him back as soon as we get the charges. But man, very insightful insight from you, sir. Thank you so much as always.
Thank you so much.
Make sure you're following CA_divorce to make sure I have it open here. There it is, CA_divorce on Twitter. Support him. He'll be following this, I'm sure. And we will have him back as soon as we are able. And make sure you support It's Kim. Yeah, and thank you, Kim, for making me go online. We needed a hit, and we had about almost 8,000 people. Kim is going to be covering this as well. Kim was about to go live and was gracious enough to come on here instead. So thank you. Make sure to support her as she covers this. As we hang here for a bit more, I want to get your thoughts. Like, you've been waiting for this.
So take a break for them a little bit. You're watching Keeping It Honest. Yours truly, Anthony Parker Alexander, as we cover this very interesting case as far as P. Diddy's concerned. Telephone number is 216-702-3718, 216-702-3718. You can leave me a voice message, and you can text me. My email address is parkerman2011@gmail.com, parkerman2011@gmail.com, and I am trying to pick this up. We're going to go to this thing, which I thought was interesting. This is a very, very young Justin Bieber. And if you remember some of the allegations against Sean, there was also allegations with him and Usher, and then with Justin Bieber. Supposedly, Justin Bieber used to go to a lot of these parties at well, it wasn't supposedly. He went to a lot of these parties as a kid that Diddy had. So right here, you look at this video. This is Diddy and teenage Justin Bieber, and this kind of resurfaced after the sex trafficking video. And you let me know what you think this is to you, okay? Justin Bieber, P Diddy, P Diddy's pretty much, yo, what's up? Where you been?
What's up, man? You good?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Young brother, everything's good?
Everything's
Selling
great.
out arenas and everything? Starting to act different, huh?
No,
you,
not
ain't, you
really.
ain't been calling me and hanging out the way we used to hang out.
Well, you try to get in contact with me, through all my, partners and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But you never really got my number, so.
Right. Okay.
So he's like really asking Bieber, hey man, you're getting big now. What's up, man? You ain't contacted me. What's up? And you look at Bieber, he's kind of shy, and he's like, well, yeah, you really don't have my number. Well, here you go.
Number?
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you my number.
Yeah.
It's 555.
All right. So there we go. Boy, a young Justin Bieber giving an older Sean Diddy Combs his telephone number. That's interesting. So, you've got a lot of celebrities who know a little bit about Sean Combs. Do you think he's innocent? Do you think he's guilty? Do you think he's going to go to jail? Do you think all these people are going to come out the blue? Do you think J-Lo's connected? Do you think Ben Affleck is connected? Do you think Sean or Suge Knight is connected? Do you think he has something to do, man, with Tupac's death? A lot. Some of this may get exposed, some of this may not. Do you think he's innocent? Or do you think he's guilty? And also, we have to tell you, we have our show Midnight at the Races comes on. It's not coming on tonight because we're on live breaking news. Probably one of the few ones on now, still doing it, which is good. I heard about this at the last minute. I said, boy, I've got to get on, but I didn't get a chance to get all my paperwork. So I said, let me go to other people's sites that are talking the news that have it together, and then we can impart our ways with them. We kind of do it different. I thank you also for the comments. You leave a lot of comments on my page, and I love it. Just keep on doing it. Hit the like, hit the share, hit the subscribe button, and keep supporting yours truly. So this other one I want to go to real quick when I was talking about Justin. So, they also have this story involving the one guy that I really have liked. I'm trying to make sure I can pull him up here. Okay. Cuba Gooding. Cuba Gooding Jr. I think this is a story. Oh, no, this isn't the one yet. Let me go back real quick. We're just keeping it honest. I'm going to make sure I got the right story here. And let me know, again, what you think as far as the allegations, because it's about to get powerful now. They're going to be talking about Diddy. He's going to be back in the news. And inadvertently, so will J-Lo. She's going to be back in the news too. And we're going to wonder, okay, well, what are they talking about? So let's see if this is it. Right here. Okay, no, that's not it. All right, well, we're going to go to this other story then that I like. And this is like live media. When you're doing your research and you're doing it live, everybody gets to follow you. Okay. So keep supporting the show. Let me know what you think. And we're going to go with the story right here. To give you a little recap, this is the story about P. Diddy and this person who is supposedly on trial for killing Tupac. And this is what he has to say. Let me know if you believe what he's saying. Keeping it honest. Yours truly, Anthony Parker Alexander.
I'm Shauna Kalafi at the Fox 5 update desk. A new bombshell in the investigation into who killed Tupac here in Vegas in 1996. The only man currently facing murder charges in the case, Dwayne Keefe D. Davis, claims that Sean Combs, also known as Diddy, paid for a hit on Tupac. According to court documents, Davis made these claims in separate interviews, including one with Metro Police, suggesting that Diddy paid Eric Von Martin $1 million for the killing. Right now, Davis is fighting for bail ahead of his murder trial, which he has pleaded not guilty for.
So that is an interesting story. The guy that's on trial for the murder of Tupac is alleging, wow, that he was paid $1 million to kill Tupac from Diddy. What do you believe? And so 96, that's 28 years ago that Tupac was killed, if I'm correct. 28 years ago that Tupac was killed. And they're just supposedly finding this guy. He was found last year, and he has admitted, yeah, it might have been me, but the person that put me up to it was P. Diddy. And then if he's saying that, isn't he kind of scared that maybe somebody will shake him in jail? Really? This is a fascinating case. Now we're going back to Popcorn Planet. And the guy who's hosting it with the cap, his name is Andy Signore. So we got to give him props. He had on the show Christopher Melcher, who knew everything legal but just didn't know the hip hop world. And it's Kim, who is glad that this day has come for P. Diddy.
You really
I
have
have
been covering this.
And you
Are
may
you-
want
I
to
mean-
check our chat. Just so you know, I've been waiting for this 4 months as a survivor myself, just seeing Cassie receive so much love and people believing her, especially after this tape came out. I think it means a lot, and I am so excited to see where this goes. And if things that I have heard that are alleged are true, oh, we're in for a wild ride.
Well, I mean, guys, we're still watching with this. This is the beginning of a massive uptick because exactly as Christopher just said, and he doesn't speculate salaciously unless he knows. And yeah, we all now suspect that document when it drops is going to have way more stuff, or it won't, and we'll all be sort of shocked. But you agree that that document, when it is unsealed after he's in custody and they begin to share their story, that's going to be a game changer, no?
Yeah, it will absolutely be a game changer.
What do you think? I mean, what do you think is the biggest thing he's scared of based on what you've been hearing?
I think it would probably be the okay, how do I word this?
Yeah, without YouTube censoring.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. I think ultimately when you bring up Rico, we have to think about how big this could be.
And then hopefully they will describe what RICO is. But she says she was a survivor, so of course it hits her personally. So this is her comeuppance day to Sean. But what is he being charged with? That is the case. Is it sex trafficking? Is it sex kidnapping? Is it drugs? What is it?
How many people could be involved, and where we could potentially end up, because we're talking about a lot of very dark things that I cannot, say. We're gonna have to come up with code words for everything.
I got one for Ricola.
Ricola. But as I put it, when we were talking about many cars, when we're talking about potential maybe substances, I mean, who knows, right? Everything's up in the air at this point. We're going to find out more as we go. But it's also, who is he connected to? Where does this stuff come from? Who are his clients?
And that's going to be the interesting thing because are they going to be well-known clients, political clients, just like the Jeffrey Epstein case? But if you remember, they kind of released stuff, but then again, they didn't. And Diddy's been called the entertainment version of Jeffrey Epstein. And you remember, he mysteriously hung himself in jail where nobody saw it. How deep is this P. Diddy situation?
And all of a sudden, this world starts to get a lot bigger, and you've got a lot of people that are very nervous tonight of whether they're going to be named. And probably some pretty powerful people who are going to be pretty upset right now. I think that would probably be what he'd be concerned about.
It's true, and I think it's only going to because we had when we first started covering this after the raids, we weren't really getting a lot of information, but some little bits here and there. But yeah, it started snowballing and going this crazy direction. Now that there'll actually be charges, depending on how those charges are, it's going to be wild to see. I'm anxious. I'm curious to see the charges because it all hangs or dies on that. As Christopher said, there could still be more to it, but those beginning charges are going to tell the story and allude to the things that we've all been wondering. Is it as bad as we think? And it's hard to not assume it's not going to be extra bad given what we saw him do to Cassie in that video. It's going to be very fascinating. I go back to it because I said it to Christopher there, and as you were on here as well. But this quote, which you called out so well, he is an imperfect person, but is not a criminal. I mean, F off, you scumbag! Like to quote Steph,
piss off, you cowbag.
He is a criminal. He's absolutely a criminal. Now he may not be able to be charged for that crime, but that was an absolute crime, and Christopher's defending it legally because they're not going to be able to try him for that, guys. But it's hard to not see that quote and not get very agitated to see that they're still playing that game, Kim, just like he tried to discredit her when he came out with his statements months ago before the tape was leaked. I do really believe, as Christopher and others have said, that tape was likely leaked by the feds to take him down a peg and knock him down by his legs. Like, let's drop a little bit so he can't keep pretending like, oh, maybe there's something wrong. And that's going to start finally seriously getting the witnesses and people we need to speak to be more serious of, you think that's all we got? That's the public tape we have. Wait till you see all the tapes he kept of everybody, right? Because that's the theory. That's the stuff we've heard. Crazy tapes in possession. We should ask Christopher next time we're here, if there are tapes that are of other people, is that all going to be under lock and seal? There's a lot to uncover and a lot of people who seem afraid and have not spoken up because they want to see how this plays out.
And again, I forgot, there's a lot of tape supposedly that he had because he used to tape a lot of things. And some of the celebrities, the female celebrity singers, have said that they were taped. So is he destroying these tapes? Is he keeping tapes from people that may have been involved, who may have been celebrity politicians? And he secretly taped those so then he could bribe them later? Something to think about. So maybe there are a lot of people that are nervous. But again, I look at the Jeffrey Epstein case, where everybody was waiting for these names to come out. And it wasn't as explosive as it seemed.
But I'm guessing these people not only are afraid, but are going to be complicit. Do you disagree?
I don't. I think there's likely, they probably have a lot of tapes, would be my guess. And that is purely speculation on my part. I do not have evidence of that or anything, but based on what we have heard and what has been alleged, I would not be surprised if they have a library of data to that they've had to go through that would be relevant to the case. Now, whether or not we're going to see that is a different conversation. I genuinely, in some cases, hope we do not, because there's probably a lot when we've read these civil lawsuits and we've seen a lot of allegations of workers being brought into these parties. I'm trying to watch my language here, guys, and certain things being given to them. And so they would have easier access to certain people at these parties. You do start to wonder what is in these tapes and how much criminal activity allegedly could be in these tapes. And that's just my speculation. But as you were saying about what his lawyer said this evening.
Well, what's probably in these tapes is dealing with, doing bad things, from drugs to anything else. And maybe some of these people, like, if you're doing all these things, do you want to be taped knowingly? No. So if you're going someplace where you can do whatever you want to do, who's to say that that person or wherever you're going at isn't taping you to eventually blackmail you to get any kind of deals, whether it's monetary deal, a political position deal, or even having the police help you out? Who knows? Has it never been done? Is it a conspiracy? It's probably been done, and it's probably not a conspiracy.
Something that's popping into my mind immediately is we saw Dawn from Danity Kane file a lawsuit
Yep.
last week against Diddy, and there was a response from him, his attorney, basically saying that, this is someone else looking for a payday, which is exactly what he wrote in the first statement that he posted on his social media. All these people, destroying his legacy for a quick payday, and then that would have included Cassie. And the next thing we knew, the tape came out of Cassie. So when he says, I didn't do any of the awful things that I've been accused of, then the tape comes out, and then he has his whole, missing the ukulele apology video of, sometimes you got to revisit the hardest parts of your life, and sometimes you got to do that, and admitted that it was him in the tape and everything else. So to me, a lot of these lawyer statements mean absolutely nothing at this point. And I honestly, it may be best just for his team to go no comment.
And yeah, you think about that tape with Cassie being pretty much beat down and him coming to the media and saying what he said. Really, that was you, so you got nothing else to say. Well, it was a bad time in my life. Some people saying the bad times in your life are still here.
Because
For real.
I truly believe what is being said is all going to be laughably disproven.
Yeah, I mean, he completely. That's the thing. You can't go out there and deny something that there could be evidence to say otherwise, right? That's the problem. He was
Yeah.
so confident in his lies and his corruption that he was just out there that doing that kind of thing, and that, not that he had much credibility to begin with, but any remote sort of innocent till proven guilty stuff that people tend to do, because that's what you're supposed to do, went out the friggin' window, because it was like, wait, you lied about that?
Yeah.
Because
Well,
that's not just like that wasn't even just like a yo, get out of my face slap. Like that was aggressively
Yes.
dangerous, terrifying, awful to the highest degree. That wasn't a one-off. That showed intent and a level, right, of a type of person that had no qualms what to do to someone that, like, to a woman especially. It's just horrifying to think of. So to think that he could do that in private, so flip it like so easily, to me, there has to be numerous examples that you can't cross that line that aggressively and then say that was a one-off. Would you disagree?
I don't disagree. I don't disagree. As I said, I don't believe that the incident that we saw in that video was the first time or the last time that he has behaved in that manner.
And then people, once you saw that video, if you thought he was innocent of doing anything, did that video change your mind? Or if you thought he was guilty, did that video just reinforce you even more?
And for those reasons, I am inclined to believe what is written in these civil lawsuits. And I don't know how many of you watching have read through any of these civil lawsuits, but they are all absolutely horrific.
Yes, they are. As I'm saying, they're very graphic and very disturbing.
And horrible. And there's some things that are said in these civil lawsuits that a part of me just really thought, why would anyone go on the record and admit to some of these things? Because some of it, they did things that weren't great too, and it was because they were trying to protect themselves. They were in these horrible situations, fearing for their lives. Like Dawn even said in her lawsuit that there were points where she wanted to try to help Cassie. She wanted to intervene, and when she would talk to her, it would get back to Diddy, and then Diddy would threaten her.
So that's interesting too. They said Dawn. So some people did know about Cassie. Some people tried to help Cassie. Suppose they got back to Diddy, and Diddy threatened them. Is that the truth? Is it he say, she say? Well, right now it's a combination of everything.
And she was petrified at one point, being locked in a vehicle allegedly for hours, and thought that she was going to be discarded, or that she would disappear, because that was something that was threatened to her multiple times according to this lawsuit. There is so much here. And like I said, if everything that has been said in these civil suits is true, and if the allegations that I have heard outside of these civil lawsuits are true,
then Sean Combs is done.
oh, this is going to be a really, really, really wild ride, and we've got a long road ahead of us in covering this. And I know we're going to cover it on, Andy's going to cover it on Popcorn Planet. I'm going to do my best to help out as much as I can. I'm going to be covering it. There is so much to come, and I think I don't want to seem like I'm, gleeful at
I
this
am. F this
situation because
dude.
it's horrific. But I am just so happy that we have someone that has for decades allegedly evaded accountability and just evaded the law. There were even allegations that he hired police officers that saw what was happening at his parties and nothing. And it was like he was so above the law, and the law is here. And that for me gives me hope and honestly a little bit of peace. And I'm really happy to have that after having to follow these horrific cases for months and just thinking, oh, I really hope this is going to end up in an arrest. I really hope this is going to end up in arrest. It's like, and you know what I mean? It's so disturbing after a while to see all this stuff. So I do hope that we get justice for these people and those that are with us. And maybe even in the case of Kim Porter, there might be an investigation to find out more about what happened with her. Because
And remember, Kim Porter was his ex-wife, and some people had even said that Diddy had something to do with that. All of these are rumors. Nothing is proven. I mean, it's an interesting set of events as far as P. Diddy's history. There's always been allegations and rumors and speculation. And maybe now with this court thing coming, maybe some of this truth will finally rise up to the top.
because there's a lot of smoke there too. So justice for those with us and those not, potentially. And that's my speculation and opinion.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people asking, and if you want to get your comments or questions in, please do. We will report, respond, and get them in there. Plus, you'll be supporting our coverage. We've had, I got to be honest, the algorithm has not been in our favor, but I also feel like there's been some suppression this past month that I haven't seen in a long time. We cover, I got to be careful with the keywords. We covered that John Bon Jovi bridge thing, and instantly I noticed, boom, it hit me even harder. And then the certain number 45's second attempt against number 45. Also, I've noticed crazy different numbers that don't make sense to me, in that it does seem like certain algorithms and Googles don't want to keep putting that out there.
That part is kind of interesting too, because I've heard about people saying certain things. So I thank you really for you guys supporting me in what I do. Even if I get one comment saying, I like that video, I can't wait for the second one. That really makes me feel good. So keep supporting me, please. And try to support all of our YouTube creators as best as you can.
So we've been struggling, and I'm glad we got a case to bring it back. And I will be gleeful, because if there was a case I was rooting for, it's this one, given what I saw on that tape. I want accountability for this. I want to see that guy get his comeuppance. I was trying to find the clip. There's that infamous clip. I get what I want.
Oh gosh, him in the office. I'm a Savage video.
Yeah, I played that when I've done the story, and let's hope that I'm able to play it through his thing. But this is Puff Daddy. If they do play it, he's a savage.
Yeah, here it is. I'm a savage.
Oh.
You think I could book that for like the weekend of the 14th?
So here's Diddy on the phone.
So bump somebody.
Bump somebody.
I love you, man. Bye. I got my
The Von Dutch shirt.
I'm a savage! Oh! I'm a savage! Whatever I want, I'm going to get! Whatever I want, I have to get!
Whatever I want. That's you when you're cocky, when you feel you've got the world under the string. Good and bad. Have you ever felt like him? I'm a savage. I can get whatever I want to get. Excuse me. Good and bad. Is that him with having that bad power? Well, in these two hosts' eyes, it is.
I have to get. This is the mentality. He posts this on his own channel, like throwing stuff at his staff. I love the most unaggressive.
Sure it's hung up.
Put my phone back. That's just so weird. I'm sorry to laugh about it, but he is disgustingly scary, aggressive, but also just like not in the weirdest of ways.
Yes! Yes! What's next? What's next? I gotta get it. I'm not gonna stay fucking down.
He could not hang up that phone, Kim.
I'm not gonna stay fucking lying down. I'm not. I can't do it, man. I can't.
How many people felt like that? I can't do it. I can't. Life is coming after me, and I'm gonna fight. I'm gonna fight. But you have your good way to respond to things, and then you have your bad way, because power corrupts absolute power.
Can't do that. What's next? Give me something else. What can't you do? I can do it. I can do it.
I love this guy. He's just like, oh God, I fucking
He's like,
hate my job.
again.
He just can't even imagine.
So you wanted something, now you got this case.
Anything.
Oh, yeah.
And
And,
he
literally,
put that-
like his profile picture on Instagram is a photo of him from this video. Like, he's proud of this.
Oh yeah.
It's disturbing.
All right, this blew up because it didn't have a lot of views back in the day, and now ever since these things, I've seen that number. Boom, boom. This aged exactly how it's supposed to. But yeah, no, I have some glee because this guy deserves it. This guy was out there. I mean, look, I need to hear the charges, of course, but what he did to Cassie, to me, you see it, the visceralness, right? It's too much.
So what he did to Cassie, does that trump everything else? No pun intended. You don't care whatever else happens to him. He did that to Cassie. He should pay. Did that to Cassie. He should pay.
It's too much. And this kind of energy that he's joking about in this clip, he was doing to people. And we approve of it. And so if he's doing that to one person, chances are he's most likely doing it to a lot of people. And so the allegations that have been coming out are more easier and easier to believe. So we will be seeing soon. So for those of you who are tuning in, we went live late thanks to Kim and others. I got so many texts. They're like, oh my God, he just got arrested. Gunner Girl and others, thank you. I got it all. I'm like, what? It was like 10:30. I'm like, this is so late. Who's going to watch? I'm glad we did it because I'm glad we got to get in here, break it with you guys. And tomorrow, I have no doubt we will have much bigger news, whether it's the mug shot, the charges themselves. We will have it here. Conveniently, I'm out of town on Thursday, but thank goodness I got the best person who could cover this case. I'm sure you feel much more confident reporting on that in my absence than some of the other things that we're potentially going to have to be there. So we will both be covering you across both channels. And if you are in the London area, I'm going to be in London on Saturday. We did finally announce our location.
So while he's talking, I'm going to try my best to get It's Kim on my show because I really like her analysis. She talks from all different ways, which is good. And I'm even going to reach out to him. I'm going to reach out to him to invite him on my show.
Algorithm has not let me make a lot of announcements these days. Good to see you guys back. Make sure you're subscribed to both me and Kim. If you haven't already, here's how you do it. Subscribe and then hit that bell. And you want to hit all. That way, when we get the charges, when you get them, you're going to get them as fast as possible. When you get those notifications, you go click the thumbs up. You go keep a comment. I want you to be part of the notification squad.
So make sure you support his show too, because as you can see, he did a lively show with here. So I appreciate the opportunity to kind of piggyback off of him.
Get ready, get back in. So happy to put it. We're back. I can do anything. I can cover Diddy all day. I can do this, Kim. I can do it. Yeah. It's too loud. My kids probably woke up my kids.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I couldn't hear any of that. I have no idea what you said.
That was too aggressive.
All right. So you're watching Keeping It On. It's yours truly, Anthony Parker Alexander. And we're trying to see if there's anything else to close this part with. Let's see.
Thon or a liathon, essentially. I think that this has been going on for a very long time. And even if he tried to get rid of everything, I think there would still be remnants of other things left. And not only that,
Or
but it does
copies,
sound
right, that he gave people.
exactly, because there are allegations in the civil suits that he sent around different videos. And so even some that Cassie said that she deleted. And then all of a sudden he would be like, yeah, I've got it, as a means to manipulate her and to further hurt her.
Wow. So yeah, you think of the copies that he made. copies of copies. And then with technology, from jump drives to put it in the universe, what is it, the Google universe, this stuff will never be erased.
So we'll see.
Yeah, it's a while, but I'm glad you brought that up. I forget why we didn't get to it. I think I made a video with John Witherspoon calling out exactly that point of his stupid kid did a diss track. Yo, you dumb feds, you missed it. We kept it all in the other house.
And that was Diddy's son putting that on tape. Oops.
How
the funny
dumb
thing
are
is,
you?
So I jokingly call him Yeet Skirt on my channel because I think of that SNL sketch. And when I first started listening to the diss track, I was like, oh, this is gonna be so bad. It's gonna be like Yeet Skirt, except Yeet Skirt is better.
It is better. It's catchier.
And you don't think if they go to court, they're going to play that in court? Of course they will. His son giving up his dad.
But it's just like the sheer stupidity of this guy to like after all that. And then you're right before Cassie drops, it was like, oh, yeah, no, you don't get to go defend your dad now.
There was a rumor that it was actually Homeland Security responding to the diss track, that they got annoyed. That was a rumor. I can't confirm it. I can't deny it. I mean, it's an allegation, right? But
conspiracies, remember, believe some.
I just think the timing was interesting.
I mean, no one listened to that diss track. That diss track went nowhere. It was just an idiotic fu to the feds, and then they were like, "Oh, okay, son."
It was just him yelling "suck my D" for like 5 minutes, and then dissing Homeland Security and thinking that was going to go well.
And Homeland Security probably said, "Son, you think you can diss us? Well, son, we about to do this." And then, bam, they raided Diddy's house.
Well, but it wasn't even dissing him. He was acknowledging, oh yeah, we all the shit's in the other house. Like there's think of that for a second. You just got raided, but 2 houses, LA, Miami and LA, and serious charges, right? Serious stuff. And you're Diddy, and shit, I have done terrible things, as we saw with Cassie. And I guess maybe his kid is believing his dad's not. Maybe there's a part of that, but it sounds like the kid may have been involved in his own things based on allegations. Who knows?
There is a civil suit against him as well. Yes.
Yep. So there's a lot going, but still, like, no matter what's going on, it's so serious. There's so many allegations. You don't know it all. If you're the son, you'd maybe think, crap, could there be bad? And then you decide to help the cause by saying, yo, idiot feds, we had it all in the other house. You didn't check. Like, that's dumb. That's like a level of dumb.
So dumb.
Oops.
It was so dumb.
Wait, I have the perfect button.
Stupid.
Finally get to use my Sorbs button.
Stupid.
I love it.
I mean, it doesn't get more stupid than that. I just can't. I can't even. It's wild. It's wild. But anyway, so look, anything's possible, right? There's a version of this where we're going to get the craziest, like, Reginald Van Johnson really is on a tape in the bathroom. Like, you don't even know at this point what Carl Winslow did. What he's on Dancing with the Stars. I hope he's not sweating. I love him. But we're at this point, Kim, where it's like, especially in this political season, everything that's going on in our world.
So he's talking about the people from Family Matters might be involved in this? Wow.
Like, nothing surprises me anymore. And so tomorrow, as this stuff breaks, we are in for a fascination or a disappointment. It's going to go either way. And so we will keep you posted as it comes in. But I just find it hard to believe it's going to be as good as it's been hyped, because that happens a lot, right? There's going to be some charges, probably similar things that we've had, but I still worry they don't have enough. There's so much pressure on them to make sure this is right, given all the resources and money, right, and the raids, that there could be a version of this where they're trying to just get them and they don't really have enough, or it's too old. I do still worry that he's gonna get away with this. So I'm waiting with bated breath to see the evidence. As you said, they're looking for the impeachable case that they can present. Obviously, everyone is when they make a case, but I'm still nervous. So we will see. But I suspect we're in for a hell of a ride coming up as this breaks. Christopher Melcher, though, made a good point also in that Alec Baldwin, man, we were watching that case, and I don't think enough of you watched that case, especially that ending reveal, which we have on Popcorn Planet. That case felt so clear cut. Alec Baldwin was responsible, along with others, but he bared some responsibility. And I would have never thought that that case ended up resorting to the prosecution on the stand being grilled by Alec Baldwin's lawyer and admitting, yes, we fucked up. And then the judge seeing it was so bad that he was given, let go without prejudice, and the whole case was over. So you never know, right, Kim? Anything.
Yeah, you never know, because Alec Baldwin case, like I said, everybody thought he was going to go to jail to be guilty, and he wasn't.
Thing could happen here.
Anything could happen. And I will say, it looks like TMZ has done a little update that apparently a couple of hours before Diddy got busted, he was confidently strolling around New York City with his son and even stopped fans and took selfies.
Wow.
I can't handle this.
So what if you were the last person to take a picture with Diddy if things go awry? And you were the last one to take a picture of Diddy right before everything turned crazy.
Well, he was seen recently with fans, and they were all making fun of him, right? They were saying like Diddy did it into his face, or Diddy done, or what they were doing it in front of his face. It was clearly not the best of look for him. But yeah, look, he lost all credibility. I don't believe it. After what happened to Cassie, he doesn't get to strut around all confident thinking like he's good. He should be ashamed of himself for that, as should his son. But his son's not, which makes me worry his son's just as complicit in this stuff as well. So the Combs family is ready for a reckoning. We will see what this presents. Any other things you want to say before we go, Cam? I'm going to read some of these comments, but as I get them prepared, anything else you want to add?
I do really believe that this is going to be interesting. I don't want to be overly confident, but it's just, there's so much here. And I think Homeland Security is serious business. When you get indicted for a RICO case, it is incredibly serious. The rate of, what's the word? The rate of being found guilty is very high. So we will see how this goes. We're going to continue to cover it. I'm so excited to do that. And I think it's going to be very interesting, very interesting. And thank you to everybody who is here. Please remember to hit that like button, subscribe to here, subscribe to me, follow Christopher on Twitter, all that good stuff. We want to make sure we're bringing you guys what is happening, up-to-date information, and we care a lot about this.
And we thank you too. Thank you very much. So hit the subscribe, like they say, the like. Go to It's Kim. We thank you. And go to also Popcorn Planet. Popcorn Planet. We thank you guys for letting us piggyback and include ourselves in your conversation. Wow. So I want to show you now, which I think is very, very interesting. I told you before how I liked Cuba Gooding Jr., and he's very much implicated in this too. If you read, I'm telling you, the Suits, and they talk about how this was my boy at one point, Cuba is involved. It's very disgusting. He's never really talked about this because he's got allegations in there. You just have to read it where you're like, wow, Cuba, I don't know if I could even like you anymore. But they have him talking about some of the allegations, I think. So let's look in.
Winning role in Jerry Maguire. Show me the money. Cuba Gooding Jr.'s Hollywood career seemed unstoppable, but a number of scandals over the last few years derailed his once promising career. Now he's ready to make a comeback.
What do you make of these new allegations, Cuba?
God's will be done.
Lawsuits, accusations from multiple women, and in 2022, he pled guilty to forcibly touching a waitress in a nightclub.
Yeah, and over the past couple of years, he's had sexual allegations against him many times. And he's one where they say, okay, he thinks he's all that.
You've experienced some very dark times these past few years. So, but Cuba, so how's your faith? How has it helped you through those dark times?
It's one of those things where I know that I'm here for a reason. And I know that as long as I do what I do and I'm good at what I do and I'm passionate about what I do, God's will be done.
But could that be doing what you do in a bad light?
Still reeling from those dark days of scandal, his once squeaky clean image stained forever.
Because remember, he's done a bunch of movies even for kids. And one of my favorite movies he did was the Fighting Temptations. I thought he was a poor man's Will Smith, because he had even said that he wasn't getting some of those roles because Will Smith was.
People love you. You know, people do. You seem like you're on top of the world. You're jovial. How did you find yourself in a scenario where dozens of women were accusing you of sexual assault, pleading guilty to forcible touching, and settling lawsuits?
People feel that I'm accessible to them, so I come in contact with all kinds of people, from people who adore you, or people who are offended by you, people who feel you're aggressive. And you have to learn that as you walk on this path, you must stay neutral.
And a lot of people have loved Cuba Gooding over the years. But again, if you read the civil suit in the section that talk about Cuba, you're like, wow, man, I can't believe this guy too.
And people interpret what's going on with you or what you're being exposed to, you have to make sure that you know your intention, and you have to be accountable for your own actions. And I have been.
Back in March, Cuba was embroiled in another scandal. He was named as a co-defendant, accused of sexual assault in one of the...
So Cuba Gooding Jr. denies Rodney Jones' sexual misconduct allegations in Sean Combs' suit. And if you read that Rodney Jones suit, he's very explicit as far as what Cuba Gooding was involved in.
Many lawsuits against Diddy. Cuba has vehemently denied the allegations. Well, how do you fully escape it, though? Like, your name, for example, was mentioned in the Diddy case.
Which was the most ridiculous thing ever.
Because you barely know
This is
him,
the
right?
most ridiculous thing ever. But again, welcome to being a celebrity.
So we're going to find out now, as these court cases come up, if Gooding is lying or if Gooding is saying these are all lies. Stay tuned for that.
Welcome to my world.
Cuba's faith is what has seen him through, and may have others seeing him in a new light.
We'll walk straight out of here. Pretend to be the media.
Now, in the wake of the headlines, the Oscar winner is focusing on his latest film, in theaters tomorrow, The Firing Squad, a faith-based redemption story starring newcomer James Barrington and Kevin Sorbo.
It's the true story of these Americans who go to Indonesia and get caught up in drugs or whatever, and they get put in an Indonesian prison and sentenced to death.
And Kevin Sorbo is the one that played Hercules. Boy, he's gotten a lot older. He doesn't look the same from what I see right here. Hercules is one of my favorite shows. But this is a little preview of Cuba Gooding's new movie.
You literally see the journey that these young Americans go through, and I kind of walked them through their journey.
I found Christ in here, and he forgave me.
I found Christ too.
I mean, let's be frank. People who watch this interview, you know, there are going to be some people who say that's another celebrity who is using faith to make a comeback from experiencing a scandal.
You can't please everybody all the time, but the people that are there to celebrate your artistry, that's my job, and that's my only mission in life.
So that is interesting too. He's got this new movie out about faith. He's going through this scandal with with P. Diddy. And I said, if you read, I'm telling you, if you read what the allegations were all about with Cuba Gooding, you'd shake your head. So you pray the best for everybody, that they're saying and doing the right thing. Speaking of the right thing, we hope that we've given you enough of the right thing today, as we talked about Puff Daddy getting arrested. We'll see what happens on there. We hope he gave you all sides of the story. Remember, support those people. I'm hoping to interview either the guy from Popcorn Planet or it's Kim. I'm going to work on that. But tell your friends, hit the like, hit the share, hit the subscribe button. Also tune in to Midnight at the Oasis. And we're going to be having, hopefully, the singer of this song, which is like 50 years old, Midnight at the Oasis. Go online, type that in, and you'll see there was a song. And we kind of named our show after this. I don't want to get sued or anything. because we were coming on at midnight. And I thought, hey, you know, it's a perfect thing for a song or a show. So I'm gonna see if I can get this person who's on tour now, celebrating the 50th year anniversary, on the show Midnight at the Oasis. And then, of course, we have Keeping It Honest with yours truly, Anthony Parker. We have our shorts, which are 5 seconds sometimes. A lot of people comment. Keep it commenting. 2 5.5-hour programs. 2 special programs. We do live shows. You just never know. This came up like probably 45 minutes before we aired it. So we didn't have all the information. So we said, let's go to somebody who has the information. That's live. Wasn't that many people doing a live show. And then that can talk to you, the people that knows a little bit about hip hop that doesn't sound corny. So I hope I've done my job too. We thank you. Go to our Patreon page, 3 tiers, and you can determine how much you want to contribute to help our show grow. And as you can tell, we do a lot of things. We do things with a Parker twist, a Parker spin. Let me know who you'd like to have on the show, topics you'd like for us to cover. We'll cover anything. Nothing's off limits. We do things again with Parker twist and a spin. So keep us growing. As we grow, you grow. We're all family, and family sticks together. And we're going to do one show or a show where we just read comments, because those are kind of crazy. And I love the comments from different people. Keep it coming. So in closing, hit the like, hit the share, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button so you know when we're coming on, because sometimes we just don't know. And again, we do live shows, tape shows, long shows, short shows. You try saying that 3 times. And we hope you've enjoyed us. And we're going to have some more stuff dealing with Diddy. And we've got some programs coming up. We've done stuff on Cassie, and we've examined the whole cases, and it looks like it's coming up again. So stay tuned, be prepared. Tell your friends. So in closing, keep your head up, never look down, always believe in yourself, and therein will lie your answer. We don't just keep it real. We don't just keep it simple. We keep it honest. I'm Anthony Parker, and of course, God bless.